Hi, this is Tony Henry from Western Trail Rider. Those of you who have followed my blog and my Facebook page at Western Trail Rider for a while will recognize my colt, Chief. Well, Chief is now 2 years old, 25 months old to be exact, and today we decided to get him started. I worked with Chief for probably half hour, 45 minutes before we get to the point that you're watching now. But you can see me here just getting him accustomed to weight on his saddle. Now Chief has been raised by hand for the last 2 years, and so he's a very docile, very mellow colt, and he's more like a big puppy than he is a horse at this point. And so you can see that he doesn't mind too much. I've sat on him before. I've done a lot of messing with him, a lot of work. I haven't done as much ground training with him as I should, but at this point you can see that he's ready for me to get ready to start him. Now, I want you to know that I have been teaching, I've been in the process of teaching Chief to lay down on command. And you're going to see something here in a second that was rather humorous. I haven't gotten him yet to actually lay down on command, but we're getting to the point where he knows, he understands what I'm trying to do, and he's within the next day or so I should be able to have him laying down on command. But at this point, when I got ready to mount him, he started to think, well, maybe that's what he wants me to do, and you'll see here in just a second what happened. It was quite humorous.
Oh, get up, silly. You want me to get up on your back, huh? Oh. What are you doing, mommy? Oh. Oh.
Now, when I said that I have sat on him before, this is what I was talking about. He has come over when I've been working with other horses. He's come over near me and laid down, and I've sat on him and piddled around with him and played with him, but never under these circumstances with a saddle on him, and never in a standing position. So this will be the first time he's ever been mounted. I got on him at this point thinking that, well, maybe he'll just stand up from here, and I'll be that far ahead trying to teach him to lay down and stand up. But he really was just comfortable where he was, and wasn't quite sure what I was asking, so he just laid there. But you can see that he's a pretty mellow horse. For a minute there, I thought that I might have to get the crop and give him a little touch or two to get him off the ground. So I got up and got ready to walk over to get the crop when he decided it was time to go ahead and stand up.
All right, come on. Get up. Okay.
So at this point, I was more concerned about him laying down than I was bucking, so I thought, well, maybe it's just time to step on up there.
Yeah. Attaboy.
Now as I get him farther along, once we get a few basic commands worked out, go forward, stop, turn left, turn right, back up, I'll put him in a snaffle bit till we get him responding reliably to those controls. And then I'll turn to a rawhide braided Bosal hackamore with a horsehair Makati on it. And I'll use that probably for a year on him to teach him to refine his controllability a little bit without having to work on his mouth. Once I get to the point where I'm no longer having to bump him on the nose with the Bosal, then I'll feel like he's ready to transition to a bit. Now I have found that on some of the foxtrotters that I have ridden, that I have trained, that there's so much head motion in their gait that they get a raw spot under the brow band of the Bosal. And if I find that to be the case, then I go ahead and transition them to the bit and just refine their cues and controls under bit. But so I have yet to see whether that's going to be the case with him. As it turns out, he doesn't know what I want at this point. He doesn't know what I'm asking. But I've done enough ground training with him that he understands the pressures on his ribs. The pressures to the fore in front of the cinch means to move his front end, and pressures to the back behind the cinch means to move his back end. And you can see I'm working on him moving his back end around as he stops, and I want to keep him moving. I give him the cue with my heel to move his back end around, and that gets him moving a little bit, and he starts to understand what I'm talking about with my heels as well as with the pressure on his nose from the reins. You can see that right now I've just got a halter on him, just to not use too much force on his nose or anything while we're just learning some of the basics. Now you'll see that he keeps trying to move a little bit to the left of the screen, which just happens to be back toward where the rest of the horses are. And so he hears those horses over there, and they're whinnying to him. But he still remained controllable with all of that. So I'm real pleased with his progress here. And then you'll see that by the end of the video, he's actually responding to my cues to go forward, and he's turning, starting to understand what turning the pressure on the reins means. I'm also combining that with heel pressure. You can see there I'm giving him the heel pressure in the back end to move his rear end around. And he's even starting to understand the cue to back up. But right now, he's just fighting me, trying to figure out what in the world this guy is doing on my back. And when is he going to get off and give me a treat? So I'm really pleased with the way he has been acting. And I have no doubt that this horse is going to be a lot of fun to train. Here we're trying to get him to take a couple of steps back, and he's not sure what I want, and not sure that he wants to do it. But he does take a little bit of a step back, and so I reward him immediately. He keeps turning his head around to me, and I'm not sure. There we go. Took a step back. Many people teach that so that the horse learns to flex and from one side to another, so the horse learns to be soft on the bit. I have never done any of that training with him, from the ground. Like I said, this is the first time I've been in the saddle. But he would simply turn his head around and start sniffing my boot and just kind of stand there and look at me, wondering why I'm on his back and what am I trying to do. And so I just keep him turning around until he get his head straight, and then we try to go forward. And no propensity to buck, no excitement, expressing a little bit of frustration, but not much. I think this guy is gonna be a lot of fun. I'm kind of expecting that this boy is going to be my go-to horse until I'm old enough to where I'm past my riding days. We'll just have to see. But I'm real pleased with this boy and pleased with his progress today. Here you can see that he's starting to get some forward motion now. He's starting to figure out what it means to when I give him the heel. And he's stopping. And that was a good day. So that's all we did for today.
That's all for today.